Good evening and welcome to another edition of Inside Jefferson Football, your weekly look inside the Jaguar football program. My name is Josh Powers. Coming up on this episode, we'll recap last week's game against Waconia with the head coach, Tim Carlson. In our players segment, we'll catch up with CJ Hayes and Newton Ambongi. And in the Where Are They Now segment, we'll catch up with former Jaguar Dan Richards. And of course, there is a game this Friday that you might be aware of, Jefferson and Kennedy. We'll look ahead to that in our final segment with the head coach. And he joins me now, Tim Carlson. Coach, how do you recap last week's game, 31-7, but you were in it for a large majority of that game, kind of got away with from you a little bit in the fourth quarter, but that's a very good team. There's a reason why they're 4-0.
Yeah, they're a good, solid team. I think last week I compared them to a Chanhassen-type team, and we were talking earlier this week as coaches, and we look at our 4 games, and we could very easily be 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
We really could. Let some things get away, but even there where it's 10-7, they're up 10-7 with 5 minutes to go in the third, 17-7 with 5 minutes to go in the game, and kind of forced to throw, and they took advantage of some errors to get those last 2, but we had the chance to extend that lead by 3 or even 7 early on, and that would have been big. But, we just kind of look back. A lot of good things happened, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Yep. We're doing much better against the run, last week, and a pretty good run team.
Mm-hmm.
So we're excited where we're going and where we're trending. But we just got to get over that hump and get that next win.
Good week to be trending to the positive.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's take a look at some of the highlights, Coach. And you couldn't have got off to a better start. You take the opening kickoff, drive right down the field, and then look who shows up in the end zone for the 25,000th time this year, Manny Montgomery on a nice touchdown pass.
Yeah, well, Coach Smith did a good job of there's a little hitch and go is what we score on. If you see that from the beginning, they just sucker them in. But the plays it's all the plays that lead up to that. We were running the ball really well to start the game, and throwing some short stuff to get that corner up a little bit closer. Then he got to that point where we think, okay, man, he's got him, and a little hitch and go, and he was wide open. Good throw, good catch. But again, you can see the line did a great job, especially that first drive, of running the ball, giving Nolan protection. But a credit to Waconia in the second half, their defensive line came out, and they really took it to us in the second half.
Yeah, very good defensive front. But you guys have some players on the defensive front, including with our next highlight here, Pierce Opong just continues to make tremendous plays. And you watch the range that he has on this particular sack. I mean, he's doing some incredible stuff for a defensive lineman.
Yeah, we were kind of switching some things around. Here, Pierce is our punter. We lost John Halaska early in the week. So Pierce went to punt. He wasn't the fastest punter, but he's got a great leg. He plays soccer all summer, so he can kick. And then just guys, paying attention, getting down there. He gets good height on the ball, kicks it pretty well. Was 1 for 1 in PATs. So Pierce wants to kick off, and he loves being on kickoff. Again, you can just see guys down there ready to make a play. But Pierce likes being on kickoff because Coach Zilka just asked him, okay, now you know what you do after you kick it? And he goes, yeah, I get to go light people up. So, okay, well, Pierce, we just let Pierce go and don't do a whole lot of coaching with Pierce. Just let him go, and he makes a lot of plays.
Well, speaking of lighting people up, we promise we'll take a look at this sack right here because it was an impressive play just for a defensive lineman, not only to track down the quarterback, but a very athletic quarterback in Ethan Swanson. He does a heck of a job here. Yeah,
he's trying to keep him inside, and then just how the angle he takes, you're right, on a very good running quarterback. And Pierce is, he's only about 215 to 220, but he wants to keep him in that pocket, drive back, and then he just breaks flat, which is that's just good football instincts. And then he's quick, he's fast, and he's stronger than he looks. So it's nice having him on one side, Nick Martindale on the other. And then, we got Caden Osmondson and Tyler Nelson floating back there, and CJ, who we're going to meet in a minute. And, we're getting better. That front 6 or 7 is getting better and better.
Yeah, no roughing the passer call. Maybe in the NFL that may have been roughing the passer, but
we did not lay him down.
That's a different show. But you talk about the defense. It's not just the front 4 that's providing you some spark, and you guys continue to get more experience and seemingly better every game.
Yeah, we getting those outside guys. We got Hunter Burgess back a week ago, and Hunter's about 3 weeks behind everybody because he's missed so much time. But if you watch closely, Hunter played a really good game as an outside backer for us. BJ Smiley made a lot of plays for us last week. BJ is not a real big guy, but he's very athletic, so he can bring it. And again, the secondary is playing really well. Between Matt and Justin and Elliott back there, we're not getting beat. And knock on wood that continues to happen.
Well, a lot more to talk about with you in the final segment, Coach. I know there's a big game on Friday, but also a big cause that we're going to talk about more of the Wounded Warrior Project. So definitely want to save time for that as well.
Sounds good.
All right. Next on the players segment, we'll talk to CJ Hayes and Newton Ombongi when Inside Jefferson Football continues. Back on Inside Jefferson Football, the Jaguars and Eagles in the Battle of Bloomington on Friday night. You can watch it live on BEC-TV, or better yet, go out in person, Bloomington Stadium again, 7 o'clock. The start time for the Battle of Bloomington. Two guys are going to be part of the Battle of Bloomington. Join me now, CJ Hayes, Newton Ombongi. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Kind of a big week, CJ. What are some of the have you had this game circled since the summer, or has there been a lot of discussion about this game so far this week, or what are some of the things that lead up into a Jefferson-Kennedy game?
Well, it is a big game, but it's just another game. Like, we're more focused on playoffs, but I mean, it is the rivalry and it ends after this year, so it is a big game.
Newton, what's it going to be like to be the visiting team at Bloomington Stadium? It'll be kind of, you're on the other side of the field from where you normally are. It's going to be a little bit different, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different, but it's going to be fun, exciting.
CJ, Coach, keeps mentioning how the defense is improving. What has it been like for you guys last week? You're holding Waconia for a large portion of that game in check. They're a very good team. What was the defensive game plan, and how did you guys execute so well?
Well, we wanted to stop the run. They're a very good running team, and we did a pretty good job of that, but there's just a couple key plays where like a couple of the guys didn't do their part. I didn't do my part on some of those, but they took advantage of that and they made big plays.
Newton, you're a wide receiver on offense, and you along with Manny Montgomery, now you're the top two receivers for the Jaguars. What has it been like for you to step up into a leadership role, not only as a senior, but also on the field with some expectations that you need to contribute?
It's really great. You got to take care of the opportunities you have, when we're throwing the ball, and, just do your job. That's about it.
What is it like to play with a guy like Manny Montgomery? He's got some good skills.
Yeah, he's a tall guy, pretty fast, for his height, and, he's pretty good.
Now, as a senior, he's only a junior. Do you kind of boss him around a little bit, or do you run the wide receiver core? What does that look like?
No, we're a pretty good group. He does his thing, I do my thing. But we're family. Just have fun. Play football.
CJ, who are some of the other guys that kind of lead that defense along with yourself this year?
I'd say our whole team's good, but we have Matt at safety, Caden and Tyler at linebacker too, then Nick and Pierce, Snurs at nose. So our whole defense just comes together.
Newton, talk about some things that you're doing away from Jefferson High School that we were talking about a little bit off air that you wanted to dive into a little bit.
Well, I do work at Meadowwoods Martin Luther, which is not far away from here, and I also might be playing BA basketball this fall.
There you go. I was part of BA basketball for a while too. Always great to be involved in that. But CJ, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to throughout your senior year, not just here in the fall for football, but throughout your year here as your last one at Jefferson?
Well, I'm excited to play other sports too, like baseball and basketball. I play BA basketball too. But I'm excited. I don't have many real classes. I take a lot of gym classes because it's my senior year. But I'm excited for college too.
There you go. What are some keys that you guys are talking about with this Kennedy game? Any predictions that you want to make on the game?
They're a pretty good team. Just trying to get better every single week, and Friday's gonna be very fun.
I know CJ, the Wounded Warrior Project, is something that we're going to talk about in our final segment, but that's something that Coach Carlson has really trumpeted over the last few years, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do you think? How can people come out and help support that project on Friday?
On Friday, I think we're doing the buckets going around again. So if anybody even just chip in $1 if you have it, it'll help, anything will help.
All right, guys, you know what time it is now. It's time for our initials game. Now, Newton, you were here last year, but you were not on the winning side of things. So you had time for redemption for you, CJ. This is your first crack at it. So for those that don't know how to play, I'm going to give you an initial of a person, place, or a thing. It's somehow related to the city of Bloomington, followed by a series of six clues. Anytime you think you know the answer, buzz in by saying your name. If you get it right, you've got bragging rights for this week's edition of Bloomington Initials. So here we go. The initials are NCC. There's 3, actually. NCC. Clue number 1. This is celebrating 50 years this year. Clue number 2. Typically between 10,000 and 15,000 use this at a time. Clue number 3. It opened a 727-space parking ramp in 2012. Again, the initials are NCC. Clue number 4. It's part of the MNSCU system.
CJ, is it Normandale Community College?
Yes, CJ, you've got it. Normandale Community College, that is correct. Newton, unfortunately, you're 0 for 2. CJ, congratulations. Hopefully you have as much success, CJ, on as initials this Friday night against Kennedy. Guys, thanks a lot for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, coming up next, the Where Are They Now segment. We catch up with 97 grad Dan Richards. Stick around.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of you, or your families, asking you to put yourself in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep you secure for the rest of your life. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
Back on Inside Jefferson Football, the Battle of Bloomington on Friday night. Jefferson and Kennedy kicks off at 7 o'clock at Bloomington Stadium or on BEC-TV. Time for the Where Are They Now segment. 97 grad, 1 year older than me, Dan Richards joins. Dan, good to catch up with you.
Yeah, great to see you again, Josh. Thanks.
Yeah, so what have you been up to since? We'll get back to high school in a little bit, but what have you been up to? I know you played some sports in college, and so talk about that first off.
Sure, yeah, graduated Jefferson in 97, went on to Bethel University, and got to play baseball and football up there, which was great, something I was hoping to find in my college, and that was a good fit for me. And then from there, pursued the dream of college coaching, wound up in baseball mostly, did a little bit of football here and there too, so did that for about another 5 to 6 years, and then had a wife and kids and family and decided to go into more of the sales role, and I've actually landed in a really fun company called Sports Engine here in Minneapolis, and just voted one of the best places to work. And basically I help people set up websites for their sports organization, including several Bloomington orgs, so it's very fun.
What keeps you involved in sports? You mentioned not only in college, but after college was coaching, and now your career is within sports. Is it something that you've just always gravitated to?
Yeah, I think it's part of the DNA, of course. You just grow up playing whatever sport's in season, like a lot of kids. And I think I grew up with a uniquely fun group of friends growing up. I mean, we played all sports from, age 6 all the way up through high school, and some even college teammates. And so that just, it's part of who you are, obviously. And if you can find those passions in life, regardless of how old you are, it's fun to chase after those and get to stay involved that way.
Speaking of chasing after things, I saw your 2 little beautiful daughters running around the studio here before. What is it like to be a dad?
No, I mean, that's it's amazing. It's something you don't really expect you don't understand until you become a dad, obviously. But yeah, they're the most important thing, and they're a blast. And they wanted to be on the show tonight, but didn't think that'd be a great idea.
You never know; they might come running through the door.
I was going to say maybe a few years down the road, but it's very fun. My wife and I live in St. Louis Park now and stay involved in whatever they're into. We'll get excited about what they're into. So.
And not only were you a baseball and football player in college, but now you've taken an interest in golf. And so talk about some of the things you're doing, not just with golf, but with golf in a Jefferson aspect too.
Yeah, no, so once you can't quite survive in the full contact sports anymore, golf's always a good one to start, and been playing golf forever, but the unique piece of the Jefferson connection here is when Coach Bird passed away, from my former offensive line coach, he was actually the namesake of the Jefferson Football Classic, where we raise money, scholarships for Jefferson players that are going into teaching and coaching, and so I was fortunate enough to earn that scholarship when I was pursuing my master's degree, and when Coach Bird passed away, it was just an easy choice for me to call up Coach Shea, who I played for as the head coach, and say, hey, I know Birdie did so much here, so what do you need help with? And all of a sudden found myself on the board of the golf tournament, and last few years we've had huge numbers and just an unbelievable event that happens every August, and so it's been fun not only to help carry on Coach Bird's legacy, but just to reconnect with Coach Carlson and Coach Shea and just some great people from my Jefferson days.
Well, let's go back to those Jefferson days, and you mentioned Coach Carlson was there when you were there. What do you remember about, he wasn't the head coach at the time, but what do you remember about Coach C from back 20 years ago?
No, Coach C really helped me out. I was fortunate enough to be pulled up to varsity as a sophomore when they needed a defensive player, and kind of a fish out of water there trying to survive. And then Coach Carlson showed up the next year, and it was great to have a defensive end kind of specialist that I hadn't really learned a ton. I was only a sophomore, junior in high school, but he just had a great demeanor about him. I think he had a very consistent demeanor. It was intense, but it was also fun and sarcastic, which you got to have in the sport of football. It's a tough grind to work on your craft and hit people all day, especially some of the great players we had. And so that was offset by Coach Carlson's just demeanor and the fun that he had with the game, for sure.
What are some of your favorite memories from back in the day? It was funny, we saw Justin Hall, of course, at the Hall of Fame night last Friday, 97 grad, also on the football team. But aside from him, what are some other things that you remember from your playing days?
Yeah, well, Justin was one of those guys that I always had to bash heads against, so maybe I don't have the memories because I hit him too hard or he hit me too hard. But yeah, the relationships are amazing. Again, have a close-knit group of guys. Some of the best memories, I think, are just being on the field, being in battle, but then also afterwards you just sit around at someone's house and recap the game. And being Kennedy week here this week, I mean, I had some good friends over there at Kennedy as well, and so some of those memories are really fun. We had some really good teams though as well, Josh. We had a state tournament team when I was a sophomore, and we beat Eden Prairie a few times after that as well. So I just remember having a really good group of guys that were having a blast with each other, but we were also took it really seriously and really tried to be excellent in what we were doing. So yeah, it was a blast.
And you're still connected with a lot of group of those guys. Right. You have an annual golf challenge against Minnetonka. Right,
yeah, we can't get enough golf, I guess. But once we clear it with our wives and everything, we do head up for a 2-day golf tournament, and it's basically 14 Jefferson grads, all from the class of 97, against 14 guys that went to Minnetonka randomly, but we all sort of connected through sports rivalries with Minnetonka, and then we went to college with a bunch of random connections. And so I think we've been going on 8 or 9 years now, and it's a great time to stay connected. And even some guys that maybe I wasn't even that close with during my high school years,
sure,
you just have that common thread of Jefferson and Jefferson football or whatever it is, and just makes it easy to pick up and have a good time.
Well, and to bring it all full circle here with Kennedy week, you met your wife. Maybe if it wasn't for Kennedy, you wouldn't be married to your wife right now.
Yeah, certainly a unique case there where one of my best friends ended up going to Kennedy, and we stayed in touch through college and were roommates and things like that. And then, fast forward 10 years after that, we get matched up with a girl in their wedding as part of the wedding party, and the rest is history, and met my wife through a Kennedy guy's wedding. So we'll take it.
All right, Dan, well, glad to see you're doing so well outside of your work life with your two beautiful daughters, and best of luck as you continue to go along, and great to catch up with you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. You keep up the good work as well, Josh. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate
That's
it.
Dan Richards, class of 97. All right, well, Coach Carlson's back in the final segment to talk about the Battle of Bloomington here on Inside Jefferson Football.
So proud that I served my country. I can't imagine not having Wounded Warrior Project in my life. We need Wounded Warrior Project to help us in our ongoing recovery. My family learned that they weren't in this by themselves. Wounded Warrior Project definitely saves lives. I am living proof that this organization works.
Back on Inside Jefferson Football, biggest game of the season for Jefferson. Every year, basically, the Battle of Bloomington, Jefferson, and Kennedy on Friday night. To preview it, Coach Carlson's back. But before we get to the game, Coach, we just saw the PSA for the Wounded Warrior Project. I know that's been a big focus of yours over the last few years, and that's going to be the cause for the game on Friday night.
Yeah, and I appreciate everything John and his group has done at Kennedy to make this kind of a really big event. And so we'll collect on both sides. This is year 9 for us, and we've helped raise over $26,000 to this point. And you know, they provide such great programs. I tell my kids in class, you know, so many who serve come back and act fine and are fine. So many who come back, act fine and aren't. And then there's those who just struggle when they come home. And the Wounded Warrior Project does such great things in helping these young men and women who have done so much for us adjust back to life here, because so many can't even go to like a U.S. Bank Stadium or a concert. And so the adjustment is big. And we had the opportunity this summer. We were a water stop. They did 2 a Minnesota Soldier Ride, one in St. Paul, one in Woodbury, and our kids were a water stop in one of the St. Paul Soldier Ride. And I think it was a little eye-opening for some of our kids to meet up with some of these veterans, but it was really cool. And you know, we want to do more and more. We're trying to get a Soldier Ride in Bloomington and end at the Mall of America. We thought that would be really awesome. But you know, we're working on stuff, and our program's just going to keep doing more and more, because these people need help, and they've done a lot for us. Let's just give a little bit back.
Yeah, and I love to see that, Coach. Not only are you doing the event here, but you're teaching your kids to do things outside of football during the summer. What has it been about the Wounded Warrior Project? Why did you initially want to get involved with that particular project? You
know what? I don't have any strong ties to the military. I had a good friend who was in the World Trade Center when it was first attacked, and I've seen him be different. And you know, as I see some of my kids from the football program go into the military, and yeah, I'm going to get going here, but you know, they sacrifice a lot. And I've gotten a lot of emails from parents. I got an email from a mom whose son just finished Navy boot camp and wants to thank me for doing this. And it's like, don't thank me. You know, this is so little. It's something, but it's so little because what they do is so much. And you know, I have a great appreciation for what the military does, and you know, it's a way to give back. And again, I thank John tremendously for what he's done at Kennedy as well.
Well, there is a game with Kennedy on Friday that I think we should preview a little bit, and it's always one that you circle every year. We'll take a look at some of the highlights from Kennedy. It's been a very strong defensive team on the east side. We saw what they did against the team that you just faced in Waconia, and they shut them down kind of similar to what you guys did, and it's not going to be an easy game at all, as you see some of the things Kennedy's defense can do, with especially Kofi Beckley right there.
Yeah, you know, he's just a big fella, and he's strong and plays very well. And you know, of the teams we've played, we really cannot compare Kennedy to Apple Valley because of that big, strong front. How they play in the secondary is very similar to Apple Valley. So that's how we compare. But you're right; they're strong up front, strong backers. A lot of love to play man coverage in the behind, and very strong defense. And they've had a very good defensive year. Offensively, you know, they want to run the ball. Their strength is running rather than the passing. They'll pass it enough. But the big thing when you see a lot of the zone reads and the options, it's a lot of the cutback stuff, and you have to be very disciplined when you play them, because they have two very good running backs, and two quarterbacks that both run well. But you have to be disciplined in your gaps, and we can't run up the football field. Just play disciplined, and that's how we're going to have to play it to stop their run game.
And take a look at one more Kennedy highlight here before we close. What is it going to be like for you as we watch Kennedy's defense force another fumble? Turnovers are going to be big, as they are in every game, but maybe even bigger in this game.
Well, you see how hard they're working on even a bad snap, but the Kennedy guy's there before the quarterback even gets it. So that's how hard they're working. They're flying off the football. We know this is going to be this is going to be their best game yet that they've played this year. We know that. And hopefully it's ours too, and that's how we're preparing to make it our best game. And you know what? It's a great community event, and we're excited for it, and it'll be the last one for a while, so we just want to put on a good show for everybody who's out there.
Yeah, you read my mind, Coach. If people don't know that out there, Kennedy is moving conferences, so we don't know when the next Kennedy-Jefferson game is going to be. So does that make it even added more importance, this one, to be the last victor until who knows when?
Yeah. You know what? I think it will after the game. I think it'll be more right now. And I think CJ said it best. This is important to us because it is the last one for a while, and it's Kennedy, and we get excited. But we're also looking to move up in those section playoffs. Sure. When you look ahead and we see Chaska, Chan, and Mankato West still. I think Mankato West seeded 3 in our district. So every step we can take to move up that ladder is big. I think when we're done with that game, Friday night, we'll kind of look back, hey, this is the last one in a long time. And, I think it'll mean more then. Right now, we're just getting to put on the best show we can on Friday.
All right, Coach. Well, hopefully it'll be a special night. I know it will be either way, but best of luck to you and your team.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, that'll wrap it up for this edition of Inside Jefferson Football. Again, the Jaguars and Eagles in the Battle of Bloomington on Friday night, 7 o'clock start at Bloomington Stadium or on BEC-TV. For our crew, this is Josh Powers saying so long from our studios.